Welcome to One Guy, One Course, One Disc. We are here today at Crooked Creek Park in Chapin, South Carolina. This is a 27-hole course, so there's the main 18 and then there's an alternate 9. So I'm going to do a review of both courses, but I'm only going to be throwing from the main 18. So let's go take a look at the course. We're going to start off with the alternate 9 here at Crooked Creek Park. The hole 1A tee pad is to the right just as you enter the park. Hole 1A is a 355-foot par 3. It's going to go downhill 10 feet. It's going to be 261 feet to get to the tree line. And then once you finish hole number 1A, you're going to find hole 2A to your left. Hole 2A is a 363-foot par 3 that's going to need a slight right turn when you come out of the trees and then go straight for majority of the rest of the way with a slight left finish to the basket. The basket's tucked between the two baseball fields, and it's going to be 317 feet to get to the corner of this first baseball field, and then it's 46 feet to the basket from there. And once you finish hole 2A, you're going to walk behind the baseball field, and the 3A will be to your right. Hole 3A is a 326-foot par 3 that's going to go downhill 10 feet. The baseball field does play out of bounds, so ideally you want to throw something out to the right and let it crash to the left. Once you finish hole 3A, you're going to find hole 4A behind you to the right next to the playground area. Hole 4A is a 326-foot par 3 that's going to go down this tunnel of trees, and it's going to have a slight left finish. It's going to be 254 feet to get to the tree right here that's coming up on our right, and from there it's just another 72 feet to the basket. But once you finish hole 4A, 5A is going to be to your right. Hole 5A is a 507-foot par 4. It's going to be 131 feet to get out of these trees. And then ideally, if you don't have the power, you're going to want to land short of this retaining pond here on the right. But if you have the power, it's going to be 366 feet to clear it to the other side. And then you'll find the basket up tucked into the woods. But once you finish hole 5A, you're going to find 6A behind you to the left. It's going to be across the pathway. Hole 6A is a 363-foot par 3. It's going to be 234 feet to get past the last tree. And then from there, it should be smooth sailing to the basket. But once you finish hole 6A, you're going to find hole 7A behind you to the right, and it's going to be over the bridge. Hole 7A is a 393-foot par 3. It's going to go downhill 15 feet. Most of that's going to be on the second half of this shot. It's going to be 222 feet to get to these electrical boxes here, and then you're going to turn to the left and then go down this hill towards the basket. But once you finish hole 7A, you're going to find hole 8A to your left. Hole 8A is a 539-foot par 4 that's going to go straight out of the woods, and then it's going to turn to the right. This pathway does play as OB, and just be careful of people walking on the path. It's going to be 328 feet to get to the post here that's right next to the path. And then you'll find the basket tucked into the woods up here on the right. And once you finish hole 8A, you're going to find hole 9A to your left. Hole 9A is a 422-foot par 4 that's going to play to the left of this tree line that's next to the path. Be careful if there are people on the pathway, because an errant shot could put them in danger. But it's going to be 187 feet to get to these trees here on the left, and it's another 235 feet to the basket, and it's going to wrap around the tree line to the right. But once you finish hole 9A, to get to hole 1 on the main 18, you're going to walk behind the rec center that's here to our left a little bit. Hole 1 is a 275-foot par 3. That initial gap you have to get through is going to be about 10 feet wide. Then it's going to be 156 feet to this tree here in the middle. But once you pass here, you should have an open enough fairway to get the rest of the way pretty cleanly. There are some trees here on the right you got to look out for. But once you finish hole 1, hole 2 is up and to the left. Hole 2 is a 333-foot par 3 that's going to go downhill 20 feet. Be careful because there is a road to your left that parallels the hole. It's going to be 283 feet to get to the tree right here before the crossing. You do have to cross over a creek, so just be careful if you don't have the distance to get to the basket, because you don't want to get into the creek. But once you finish hole 2, hole 3 is to the right. Hole 3 is a 254-foot par 3. It's going to be 154 feet to get to the tree that's in the middle of the fairway right here on the right. And then you want to do a slight turn to the right to get yourself to the basket. And once you finish hole 3, hole 4 is going to be to your left. You have to go across the bridge to get to hole 4. Hole 4 is a 250-foot par 3 that's going to force you to get through another tight gap about 10 feet wide off the tee pad, 138 feet. But once you get past the gap, it should be fairly smooth sailing to the basket. And once you finish hole number 4, you're going to find hole 5 down behind you to the left. Hole 5 is a 323-foot par 3 that's going to turn to the left. It's going to be 188 feet. It goes up about 9 feet to get to this tree here on the right. And then from there, it's just another 135 feet across the basket to the basket. Be careful because this fairway does cross a path, so make sure you're clear before you tee off. And once you finish hole number 5, you're going to find the tee pad for 6 up and to the right. Hole 6 is a 350-foot par 3. It's going to go downhill 14 feet. It's going to be about 235 feet to get to the trees where they're going to be a problem for you. But once you get to these trees, it's pretty much just doing your best to avoid the trees. And once you finish hole number 6, you're going to find hole 7 to your right. Hole 7 is a 170-foot par 3 that plays as an island. It's 156 feet to the front, 180 feet to the back. The drop zone is 30 feet from the basket, which is the bridge to the left. And once you finish hole 7, you'll find hole 8 to the left. Hole 18 is a 418-foot par 4 that's going to go uphill 13 feet. You do have two options off the tee to go long or short. The short path is going to be 157 feet to get to this sharp turn to the right, and then it's going to be another 261 feet to the basket. There is another fairway to your left if you want to go a little longer off the tee. But once you finish hole number 8, hole 9 is going to be straight ahead of you across the footpath. Hole 9 is a 517-foot par 5. It's going to be 240 feet to get to the turn to the left that you're going to have to take, and it's going to be 178 feet to get to this tree here that's in the middle of the fairway. And then from the turn, it's going to be 180 feet to get to the turn to the right that's going to go to the basket. From the first turn, it's 127 feet to this gap here that's in the middle of the fairway, which is roughly about 7 feet wide. And then you're going to want to start to turn right about here, and it's going to hook to the right for the remainder of the hole. And once you finish hole number 9, hole 10 is going to be behind you across the footpath. Hole 10 is a 275-foot par 3. It's going to go straight and then turn to the left at the end. It's going to be about 237 feet to get to the point to where you want to turn. But once you finish hole number 10, hole 11 is going to be straight ahead of you across the footpath a little to the right. Hole 11 is a 347-foot par 3 that forces you to throw through a tight gap through the trees. Probably something you're going to want to throw on hyzer and let it flip up to widen that gap. But then it's straight through this field. This baseball field to the right plays is out of bounds. And once you finish hole 11, hole 12 will be straight ahead of you to the right. There's a path. And then once you get to the footpath, you're going to follow that to get to hole 12. Hole 12 is a 289-foot par 3 that goes downhill 19 feet. You're going to something that's going to turn a little bit to the right and then come back left. And then once you finish hole number 12, you're going to find hole number 13 to your left. Hole 13 is a 327-foot par 3 that goes downhill 11 feet. It's going to play straight and then going to finish to the right. It's going to be 291 feet to get to the turn, and then it turns to the right to get to the basket. Once you finish hole number 13, hole 14 will be to your left. Hole 14 is a 283-foot par 3 that goes straight pretty much the whole way, and then it has a slight turn to the right. Once you get up this hill, though, there's a tree that's about 25 feet in front of the basket. And then once you finish hole number 14, you're going to find hole 15 to your left across the footpath. Hole 15 is a 170-foot par 3 that's going to bend to the left. It's going to be 106 feet to the turn, and then 68 feet to the basket that's perched on top of this little mound. Once you finish hole 15, hole 16 is to your right behind you. Hole 16 is a 429-foot par 4 that's going to turn right pretty much the whole way. It's going to be 187 feet to get to your first turn. And then you're going to throw another shot that goes about 155 feet to get to the hook to the right to the basket. But once you finish hole 16, you're going to find hole 17 behind you to the left. Hole 17 is a 443-foot par 4 that goes downhill 17 feet. It's going to be 213 feet to get to the turn to the left, and then it's another 230 feet to get to the basket. The basket does sit on a island, so just be careful with your second shot because you definitely want to make sure that it doesn't skip into the water. But once you finish hole number 17, you're going to find hole 18 to your left. Hole 18 is a 357-foot par 3 that's going to go downhill 13 feet. It's going to be 225 feet to get to the turn, and then you want to do a slight turn to the right. This basket does play on a slightly large peninsula, but you still need to be careful of the water behind the basket. And once you finish hole 18, you're going to cross the bridge and go to the right to get to the parking lot. Now that you've seen the course, let's take a look at today's disc. It is going to be a Latitude 64 Saint. The numbers are 9, 7, -1, 2. So let's see how it does out here at Crooked Creek. No. Oh. Come out of it. Oh, shit. Oh. Slow down. Oh, Josh. Oh, wow, bad. Ooh. Oh. Nope. Settle, settle. So there you have the Saint at Crooked Creek. Overall, I think the Saint is a great disc for a 9-speed disc. You're going to get some turn out of it, and then you're going to get some reliable fade. So I definitely suggest putting it in your bag. As far as Crooked Creek goes, it got a 6.3 overall. But personally, this is a very dangerous course. A lot of the holes are kind of weaving in and out of a walking path. There's a lot of holes and tees that are, or tees and baskets that are right next to each other. So definitely, if you're gonna come out here, come with a spotter. But just be careful on this course. It does get very busy. There's a lot of people using the course, but also using the walkways. So this is definitely a course you have to be careful on. Especially watch out for dogs, because apparently people like to walk their dogs without leashes around here, even walk up and down the fairways. So if you come out here, just be careful. But honestly, I just think there's too much risk involved here. But that's just my opinion. But for now, on to the next course.